What's up guys, J-Man here, welcome to Comic Corner, and today we are going to be doing Daredevil, the Man Without Fear, Frank Miller, inspired by the Daredevil TV show. So let's jump right into it. What? Guys, so Daredevil, the Man Without Fear, too bad it's a miniseries, only 5 issues, but Frank Miller has done a lot of other Daredevil stuff. So we're going to start off with this story, one of the greatest depictions of Daredevil, written by Frank Miller, the man who did Dark Knight Returns. I mean, he's just such an iconic writer. So let's just jump right into it. So at the beginning of this story, we see like a young, troubling, foolish Matt Murdock getting into fights in school, and his father and him have like an unbalanced relationship due to Matt not listening to discipline. It's just Matt being a little rascal and, running around and getting into trouble, getting into fights. And throughout Matt's youth, we see him training with Stick to use his heightened senses to his advantage. And I quote, "Time to stop taking a beating and start giving one," from the TV show Daredevil, Netflix. Alright, so, yeah, but there's a point when Matt realizes crime needs to pay when the death of his father, due to him not losing the fight as he was threatened to, but his father only wanted to prove to his son to be a hero. And I think that's a great lesson, even though he did die due to him losing, as he was told to lose. But this story deals with a lot of grounded, real-life struggles, things that happen in reality. So that's also great. So, like, in anger and sadness, Matt hunts down these 3 men that beat his father to death. Each issue, the next issue, he basically cripples them. So I'm just gonna put it that way. One of them he kills, but let me not get into that shit. Okay, so the next issue we see Matt joining college when he meets Foggy Nelson, his best friend. Eventually in the future they become best friends, but Foggy's kind of depicted, like, his character's very kind of shy and outcasted and ridiculed by other bullies. Like, they tied him up, it was during like the winter, and they tied him up and they threw him outside campus, and he was naked, buck-ass naked, out in the cold, and these bullies, these assholes were laughing at him. So, so they quickly become friends, and the next chapter of the story is Matt is kind of seduced and intrigued by this Mysterio woman, aka Elektra. So, at first I was kind of thrown. I didn't know it was Elektra. I don't read much Daredevil, but just due to the fact she's not wearing her red suit with those kind of like the knives that she has. So, and they sort of have like this unconditional love for each other, even though they don't know each other that well. Kind of like a Spider-Man and Black Cat fashion. But, unfortunately, like, since this is a miniseries, she eventually leaves due to the death of her father, by none other than Kingpin, who wants none other to stay in power, and if it takes killing people, he'll do it. We also see, like, Kingpin deal with drugs, kidnapping, prostitution, etc. All these morally and ethically wrong things, which ultimately, like, sends Matt over the edge, to, this is where we get to see him in that classic, not that classic, but in that black sweatsuit, sort of like suit from the Daredevil TV show. And it's kind of funny because in the show it's a lot neater, like, depicted, but in the comic it's like a sweatsuit, like, it's baggy pants, clothes that you normally wear. In the show it looks a lot better, which I thought was kind of funny how they transitioned that into this show. But, basically kidnaps into ties with these other drug dealers or these other bad people that kidnap women. So Matt jumps into action, and we get to see him beating the crap, kicking ass with his batons in the black sweatsuit, beating the shit out of these thugs, and it's like drawn so beautifully. And I would have figured it would be drawn so well by John Romita Jr., because I usually hate his art. when he draws Spider-Man, but in this it actually looks pretty decent. And it's drawn fantastically, you know. But this is where the story ultimately ends with Matt, getting his classic red Daredevil suit from Stick, which concludes this miniseries. Ultimately, this is a short book, but it's great. I mean, it's a great miniseries. It's only 5 issues. This is very from the show. You'll definitely, if you're watching the show for season 1 Daredevil on Netflix, it's very Frank Miller inspired. This Daredevil miniseries. We see Kingpin. We see the classic black sweatsuit, sort of thing going on, and even the way they handled his father's death was transitioned to into the show like perfectly. So I'm gonna give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It was great. Frank Miller, I mean, he's an iconic writer. John Romita Jr.'s art looks kind of decent in this one, so I don't have a problem with it. There's a lot of good monologue, and the dialogue's, it's okay, but the monologue is what's really great in this too. So, yeah, definitely recommend you guys get this.